So here I have some various conjunctions, and this is actually all of the conjunctions. I just basically went into Wiktionary and looked up all the definitions of them. So you can see them all, but this doesn't really give you the best idea of what they mean. Some of them are only used in like certain situations, like "ak" is used after like means but it's only used after a negative, so it doesn't really have like an easy English equivalent because no word in English works like that. And then "aki" is but after a positive. And so there's a lot of these words. Some of them have like sort of overlapping meanings, or at least they translate the same in English. The most common, I believe, are around here. We have "yach," which means and that's used quite frequently. And then you have "yahweh," "yahweh," which is if, which is also pretty common. You have "unto," which has the meaning because, but like I said, you also have these, which also mean because. And with like because, we say because a lot in English. Sometimes we even shorten it to like cause or whatever. But something to keep in mind is that Gothic has a lot of, or at least it has a few words that aren't like like for example, if you're reading the Bible, you might see a lot of things that like say "for," "for I am come to," whatever. And there are a few ways to translate that. And let's see. Like for example, "og" is probably the most common, but there are also a few other ways. And it's kind of difficult if you don't have an equivalent in your native language of this "for" to know when you would say "because" or when you would say "for." I think in most cases where you would see the word "for" in the Bible in modern English, you would say "because," and that's sort of what it means, but like the sort of tone and all that, and like the exact meaning are slightly different. There's "ethan," which means so, and there's these words "swaswe," "swe," and "swai." I can put this into Wiktionary, see what it gives me, so that in so much, therefore, I figured I accidentally just copied these ones. So that in so much, therefore. And so because these are like, they don't really give you, like, you can't really figure out how like a goth would use the words just from looking at the Wiktionary definition. Today, what I thought would be nice to do would be to go through each of these on wolfala.b, which is probably the best website for this sort of stuff. I can't think of any other ones. If they exist, I'm not aware of them. But let's just go into search, match exact word. Not that it matters because there won't be other words. So as you can see, it's just translated as but. So the exact here it's and. But anyway, in any case, I'll just read these. Athonic quithaiswis tati hwasu modach brothar sin am aswari sgula werthydd stoe ith sai gwythydd brothar sin am araga sgula werthydd gacwmthe Athan. So here you can see Athan is pretty common. It appears twice just in this one verse. Sai gwythydd dwala sgula werthydd in again on funins. So, but I say unto you, Athonic quithaiswis, and then, but whoever shall say, Athan sai gwythydd dwala. And now here it has whoever, and sai just means like who. There are some words in Gothic which have, like, are more specifically whosoever, but looks like you can just use sai here. Then you have, let's see, Athonic quithaiswis. So it's the same, just a few verses later. And you can see it's basically being used the same. Here it's a different sort of context. Athan vithe fasteth. Moreover, when you fast. So here's it's not even translated with but. The Latin word is cum, which means with, more or less, but like I said, it's rarely like a one-to-one translation where you can just say, oh, it's this word in Latin, so therefore it'll be this word in English. In this case, cum means more like when, and autem means moreover. I'm going to say athan is this autem, which is the moreover, and bithe is the cum and the when. And then fasteth is ye fast, ye unatis, and I don't speak Greek, so I can't tell you what this means. I don't speak Latin either, but my Latin is a lot better than my Greek in any case. Here we have athan quithaiswis. So earlier we had athonic quithaiswis, but this is just athan quithaiswis, which means there's less emphasis put on I. So if we go to here, look at the previous line. Uhosiand than Jesus sildalíkida jachquath to them afarlestiandam. Amen quithaiswis nin Israela swallow the galovin viat. So he's not saying those people said, but I say. No, he's just saying I say. And there's no like extra emphasis on quithaiswis. So we just say quitha. Athan bithe. Yeah, I did that one. Athan quithaiswis. Yeah, okay, this is the one I'm on. Athan nichwas hun lagith du plata fanan tharehis anasnagan ferniana unte afnimith fullon aftammasnagin Yahwersiza Torah werthith. No man putteth a piece of new cloth onto an old garment. Now, here's another situation where you might run into there's no translation in the English for athan. So even if you just like crossed out this athan, it would translate the same in English, which is part of the reason why we need to look at these things in context. And it also helps if you speak Latin, because then you can see this autem. And a lot of the time when you see athan, it'll be autem. So if you speak Latin, that will help. Let's see if I can just put Sorry if my font is like hard to read. I tried to base it on the some sort of Latin codex. I did it a while ago. I can't remember what it's called. But this is basically just my unseal font, which I figured out how to. This is English, not Latin. Which I figured out how to put on the tabs, which you can do. Just go to settings there, and then scroll down, and you can set the font to whatever you want it to be. So here you can see some translations about him. So if you speak Latin, if you study Latin, then you should be able to figure out the exact meanings better. But once again, Latin, Gothic aren't the same thing. If you speak Greek, you'll also be able to notice that Athan usually has this the. So I'm going to assume that the word it's translating is the. There you can see my Greek font for just a. It's actually, it's the same font, but how the Greek letters look in it, and it goes to this, which I don't like as much, but oh, and you can see that some of these lines have a meaning that like here it says and. So it's certainly not easy to learn when you would use each one, because they're when. So if you say if the English is and, do you use athan? Do you use yach? Do you use this which also means and? Just put it at the end of the word. They're used slightly differently, and sometimes both work. So it's difficult. It's certainly not easy to get all of these right. And this is interesting. So you see, yach is and we can put yach into here. See how it translates it. It says also, and that's correct. It can also mean also. So we can put also here, but it also can also mean even. Like here we have it having this intensified meaning, like the word even does. Quethunduima athanhuatoyus thu techne I sehwema acholoviema thus quavorkis. They said therefore unto him, what sign shewest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What dost thou work? Here's another case, no translation here. I'm going to say that that ergo is athan, quod is hua, tu, thu, facis, tois, signum is techne. So let's see. And ergo is a word in English, so it is you should be able to say, oh yeah, this, ergo that, and obviously it's not as common as therefore, because, and even the other ones I don't think. Athaniave was gangeth in Nacht, lusting queth. Here's an interesting thing. It has two G's. You don't need two G's there, because the first G is and then the second G is G, but then there's this Q there. So the Q already indicates that the preceding G is an Ng. So this is why if you go here, put in with, it's actually a version of Gostinquan, and this is defined as a variant spelling. Most of the time, you'll just have one G, but here they're using G to basically represent the ng sound. Like they're using the two G's to represent the ng sound. So what that indicates, maybe the speaker at least would like just pronounced like GG as without an extra g sound at the end. I don't know why my memory is like this, where I always can't think of a word as soon as I start actually like trying to think of one. Like the first word I'm thinking of is the word thing, but that's not a word in Gothic. And that's all I can think about. Oh, here's one I thought of. Gong, which is like telling someone to go. Go, gong. So maybe some people pronounced that as gong. What's the next one? Ethel. Now, Ethel, the thing about Ethel is there's also another conjunction. Let's see if I can find it. So, which also means or whether. So let's take a look at how Thol is used for a second. It also means then, THAN. And also then in this case. But let's try to find a case where it says or. Here we have one. Aflitanda thus fraworktis tho gwythan oris gang. So here we have a yes or no question. Either this is easier or this is easier to say. So one of these is easier to say. They can't be both easier to say. That one makes sense. Thu isaklimna tho antarizuch bidema. So are you he that should come, or should we wait for another? So they can't both be true. It can't be you're the he that should come, and also we'll wait for another, because if you're the one that should come, then waiting for there's only one. You can't wait for the other one if there is no other one. Let's see if I can find another one where it means other. He shall know of the doctrine, whether it be God or whether I speak from myself. So we have tho, meaning whether, like, or. It can't be of God and I speak of myself. You can't have both. And we have tho. Here isn't what I'm focusing on right now, but here you can see iku. And that u is just goes at the end, and it like means whether. You can also form yes or no questions with it. Ive tho uschalia Christus quimith. Here it means then. And then so here we have another question. Who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So it's a one or the other. This man or his parents. Now let's look at how eththal is used. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. Now, is he saying, like, this wouldn't even make sense as a, this or that, where it's like one or the other. So, and it definitely can mean and here, like, destroy, like, if, is he saying, oh yeah, I think that I come to destroy the law and the prophets? No, that's not what he's saying. Jota ens etho ens trix. One jot or one tittle shall in no wise. Here and could be used, so it's like and or. Wheat etho swart yotoyan. Now it's not asking, like, or as in like, is it going to be white or is it going to be black? No, it's just saying, either one and or. You can't make one hair white or black. Here you can see another like situations in which it's used. What shall we drink, or what shall we be clothed? So it's not saying, like, it's not like a question of, the stress is like on, like, not any of these. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, you can think about what shall we eat, but not, it's like either. Don't think about, if someone thinks about what shall we eat, what shall we drink, or what shall we, with what shall we be clothed, that's not doing what Jesus is saying here. So, do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Let's look at the context here, because this, oh, it's right at the top. I don't know how I messed that up. How I missed it, I mean. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? I'm going to look up Matthew 7:16. Matthew 7:16 meaning. I don't know what I'm allowed to do in a video, but whatever. So I think what it's meaning is, like, people don't gather grapes of thorns or eggs of thistles. They're not doing either. So that's why it's etho. So if it was asking, do they, if it had to be one or the other, then you would say tho. But since it's like they're not doing either, or are they doing one or the other, that's why it's etho. So that can be helpful sometimes by looking up the quotes, in case you don't exactly understand them. Than utan de wind nieuwjata in balgins vernians etho distornand balgis. So here it can mean something more like else. And here it's like that, like either or. Either or. There's a lot of these, and you can go into a lot of detail for each of them. If you're wondering what a specific one means, I would recommend going to wolfella.be and just checking it. It's not like something that's easy to just cover in a single video. But hopefully I've covered the ones that I did cover well. And I will say before I end the video that if we go to which is something that I want to talk about, there are a lot of cases where it has this sort of, it doesn't exactly mean and, it like sort of, how do you say that? Like it's like Wazoo is like whoever or everyone, and it's used even in the middle of sentences, and where so that's not exactly the same as, for example, Quithu, which isn't its own, I guess you could say its own word. It's just Quitha and Now this is interesting, how the is replaced by the I heard someone suggest that it might have been a schwa at the end of words. I'm not convinced of that. I don't think there's enough reason to say that it would be a schwa. But I mean, we don't have a voice recording of like Goth saying, like speaking, so I don't know. But in any case, this when it's used, not in like quazu, tharu, where it's just put onto the end of a normal word, I would just try to only do that at like the beginning of a sentence. This isn't this is ustiuhan, which is something that you might run into, where that's just the past tense of ustiuhan, ustau. So it's not ustau, because there's no such thing as usta. And another antaru, where it's basically just goes at the beginning of a sentence, wasu, thanu, tharu, and hathu. So if you see, it's like not really used as much, like in the middle of a sentence, and like it's almost always the first word. But you do have words like thanu, which I bet if I put it in here, it's accused of sa, which is like it's from so like that is like related, but it doesn't like it's not literally meaning and in this case. Now let's compare that to Yach. Now Yach is sometimes used at the beginning of sentences, but as you can see, a lot of these are just like in the middle of like after a comma. Like most of these are in the middle of the lines, and you don't really see that with ach ne bringes. So you might think, well, why isn't it nich? I'm not sure. But if you ask me, my best guess is that they're just synonyms, and like all synonyms, you can use one or the other, and it doesn't change the meaning that much. And it might have like a little difference in emphasis, uh, but not too big of a difference. I mean, just looking at like the highlighted text, you can see that most of these and like Gothic uses a lot of Yach. Um, and floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell. Dalathorin Yahweh mun achvos, Yahweh on windows. This is interesting. There is a sound change where O before a vowel can become a O spelled AU. So if I go to store, and if I look up, okay, where's store from? It's going to be from Proto-Germanic long, most likely. Yeah, store. How's it from a place? How's it from stowage? Yes, stowage of cargo. What does that have to do with judgment? I'm not sure. Um, damn. Uh, yeah, I don't really get it how it's related in this case, but maybe that's like a different word, and Wiktionary does sometimes do that. But in any case, um, I think I covered the most common conjunctions. Um, I talked about how like don't use ak after a positive and don't use aki after a negative, and I'm pretty sure the Gothic sticks to that rule in the attested text. Um, but it's you should always check just to be sure in case you're have a question like that.